Hi there, welcome back. This is the second in the series, and this is Channeling for Beginners Part 2. And it follows on from the original one, Channeling for Beginners and Introduction. And if you haven't watched that, I would highly recommend that you do, because it goes through all the fundamentals for channeling and how to keep yourself safe. So the purpose of this one is to give you some more information as you go along your channeling journey. Then I'm going to share with you something that I've channeled and explain how that came about. And then we're going to have another practice session at the end. So there's a couple of things that I'm going to have a look at today. Firstly, it's about getting started and getting yourself prepared for a channeling session, which we didn't cover in the last video. Having a look at what you might want to do if you're feeling a bit blocked. And then we're going to have a look at what kind of things might you receive and what does it feel like when you're receiving them. Okay, so getting started with regard to channeling. Now, everybody's somewhere on the continuum, and some people channel really easily. In fact, they might have problems not channeling, through to people who may feel it's a bit of a struggle to get there and may need to spend some time training themselves. So it doesn't matter where you are on the continuum as to how easily you channel. Just know that the more work you put in, the easier it gets. And that's the same with anything really, isn't it? But when you're doing channeling, the more you can practice and the more you understand how it feels and the more you're familiar with what comes through, the quicker you're going to progress. So don't worry if you're going slowly. There's no rush. We're eternal beings. And if you don't get it all done this lifetime, then it really doesn't matter. Okay, so when you're preparing for a session, it's really useful, we mentioned this last time, to have an intention for what your session is about. And one of the things that you can do is you can actually write it on a piece of paper and hold that piece of paper between your hands, just so that you start to get the energy of what it is that you're looking for. We did look last time of who you can invite in to channel. We can also invite in the topic that we want to channel. And or we can leave it open to see what spirit want to bring through for us. So have an intention. Remember, your main intention is that you're channeling something for the highest good. That's really important. And then if you've got a topic, you can ask for that. When I do my monthly newsletter with the supporting meditation, I set the intention that I bring through the right information. So I don't ask for a particular topic in those circumstances. I just believe that I'll be given whatever is the most appropriate. Other times I might be asking for something very specific, and it just varies. There isn't a way or one way. There's different ways of setting intentions, but do set an intention. If you're preparing, know that there's different ways that you can actually bring through whatever is you're channeling. So it may be in written format, maybe spoken, you may draw something, you may paint something, you may get some music coming through. There's a whole range of things that you can bring through. So you might want to prepare any items to be ready for it. So let's say you're writing, get your pen and paper. And some people recommend that you have a really beautiful notebook and a really beautiful pen, just so that when you're getting ready, then you're already starting to raise a vibration because you've got a beautiful energy already with you. So you might want to get drawing paper, pens, canvas, paints and brushes, anything that you might need, a recording device if you feel you're going to be speaking. But have it all ready, so that you haven't started and then you need to go around and look for it. The other thing that you need to do, and I think we've already mentioned this, is just to get yourself into the right state. You don't want your chatterbox brain, chattering away to you. You need to get yourself into the quiet. So spend some time getting yourself into the quiet. And that may be simply belly breathing, for example. It may be just getting yourself into a room with mood lighting and just letting yourself relax. It may be focusing something. So you may have a candle that you focus on, just so that you've got a focus for your mind and to stop that chatterbox going on. and let your mind just calm down. What we're aiming for is to go from these beta brainwaves into the more gentle alpha brainwaves, because that's when it's much easier to channel. So just get yourself ready with your intention and get the environment right and get your mindset right, and then we'll be ready to start. When you start channeling, a number of people ask me, I want to know who I'm channeling, and that's fine. And you may be told who you channel. You may already know who you're channeling. You may ask for specific energies or beings or people to channel. But if you don't know, then just don't get hung up on finding a name for who you're channeling. Spirit or whoever are not necessarily hung up on names themselves, and I most of the time don't know, and I just trust that the right being or energy will come through. So don't worry about that. They may be a collection of guides, for example, so they may not have a joint name. They may not actually have a name, or they may have a name that might be difficult for humans to say or pronounce. So don't worry about that. Also, don't be swayed by what you see other people doing. I know a number of people say to me, I've watched this amazing channeler on YouTube or something, and I don't do it anything like that. Don't worry, your way is your way, and just be open to what your way is, and don't think that you need to be like another person. And I just want to share a brief story here. I, for many years, was a conference speaker, and I would travel around and speak at different conferences. And the very first conference I was invited to as a speaker happened to be over in Sydney, in Australia. I live in New Zealand. And the organizers said, we have spent an awful lot of time to get this keynote speaker here, and you will be amazed at how good he is. And I was amazed at how good he was. But what I had done without realizing it is that I had thought that to be a good speaker, I needed to have his speaking style. And I didn't realize I'd done that until about 2 years later, and I was speaking at another conference. And I just watched a speaker, and I said to the organizer, what an amazing speaker he was. And he says, wait until you see the next speaker, he's even better. So the next speaker came on, and he was speaking for an hour and a quarter. And after 15 minutes, I realized he had a speaking style like me. And I didn't actually hear what he said for the next hour, because I was actually crying, because all of a sudden I'd realized that I'd subconsciously thought that to be a good speaker, I had to be like that other person. And that was not my speaking style at all. And I suddenly realized my way is my way, and people's way is their way. And whatever your style is what you've been endowed with. And that is your way for bringing through information and your way for channeling. So don't worry if your channeling style is different to other people's. It doesn't matter. Your way is your way, and that's what you've been endowed with. And you will bring through whatever you need to by using your way, not trying somebody else's way. Okay, so what we bring through, what we receive, what's it like to receive? And everybody's different. So I can't say when you receive information via channeling, this is what it's going to feel like, because remember, your way is your way, and people do it in different ways. But when you start, you might just find it's a little bit unfamiliar, and it may take a little bit of time to make it become familiar and something that you feel actually comfortable with, because it may come through in a way that you're not used to bringing information through. So the language might be different, or you may discover that you would prefer to write, or you prefer to speak, or you prefer to draw, and they may not be the main way that you normally bring through information. So just be aware that when it first starts, just give yourself time to get used to however the information is coming through. And after a while, if you're channeling more than one being or energy, you may notice that they've all got their own styles, and then you'll go, oh, here's this one coming through, or here's an interesting piece of information. I know where that one's coming from. So you may have more than one style, as you are connecting with the energies and bringing through the wisdom that you're bringing through. Typically what happens is like attracts like. So you're probably going to be channeling energies that are very similar to how you are and how you do things in life. So I, for example, I don't bring through information that's in fields that I don't normally work in. So I don't tend to bring through scientific information or financial and economic information or technology information, because that's not the fields that I work in. I work in mainly the field of personal development. So that's generally the information that comes through. And you may find the same, that you have endowed yourself this lifetime with certain abilities. And then whoever's looking to pass wisdom and information through via you will choose you because you've got a similar life purpose to what their purpose is for giving information into the world. If you feel a bit blocked when you're getting your information, the first thing to remember is don't try and force it. It's not the best energy to be in if you're trying to force things. So you may just want to go over again yourself, getting into the peace, into the calm, quiet in your mind, and just let whatever wants to come through, come through. And maybe that day nothing comes through. When I was channeling one of my books, sometimes I would go through the whole process of getting myself ready, and I would get one sentence. Okay. And it's a bit frustrating, but that's what came through, and there's no point forcing it. So if you're getting ready and you're waiting for something to come through and it doesn't come through, one of the things that you can do is, if writing is your way, is to just start writing from your conscious mind, and then it may click over to your channeling mind. So you may start writing, and then after a while, you'll suddenly become aware that, oh, this is not coming from my conscious mind. I think this is coming from my subconscious mind, or whoever is bringing through the wisdom for me. So that's one way of doing it. You might try a different way. So if you're usually writing, then you might try using your phone and voice recording it, for example, or you may go onto your laptop and either with eyes open or eyes closed, just start typing. So maybe trying a different medium of getting the information out there may work for you. If you're really feeling blocked, you might want to do what I call change your energy state. So you might want to go away and do something and raise your vibration. So that might be to go for a walk, or go and play a sport, or do something that makes you laugh, and change your vibration and raise it into something higher. And then come back either that day or maybe another day and try it again with a raised vibration. What some people do is they will sit there and do a bit of a meditation and say, well, what actually is blocking me? What might I be afraid of? And just see if an answer comes through. And then if it comes through, ask, what can I do to change that? So you're calling on your guides and you're kind of channeling in a way. And often that works for people. Another way to do it is to visualize a block, which could be a block around you or a block over your head, and then visualize making it disappear in some way. So you might visualize it floating away, or you might visualize it just breaking up into little pieces and disappearing. You may visualize a vacuum cleaner coming along and taking it away, and that's your block. And it may take more than once, but that is another way of just visualizing the block so that you can start getting this information through. When you are getting it, just remember that you are a vessel. The information is coming through you, and you are a vessel. And you are also an interpreter. Sometimes the information comes through and it's very easy for you to understand and very easy for other people to understand. But sometimes it may come through in a way where you need to interpret it. So, for example, you might get it in a kind of form of language that you're not very familiar with. So you may need to slightly alter it so it makes sense. You might get symbols. So you might get an image of a color or an animal or an object. and you may need to ask whoever you're channeling, what does that mean? An option is to just go and research what does this particular symbol mean, but note that it may not be a particular meaning for you. It may be a very specific meaning for you. And so on that particular day that you're channeling and you've got an image of an animal, it may be very pertinent to you that day with one meaning. And later on down the track, you may get that image of the same animal, but this time it might have a different meaning. So just know that if you get something through that's a symbol, it may not be a universal symbol, and it may be a very specific symbol for that particular time that you're channeling. And I do this fairly often when I'm giving readings, which I feel is a form of channeling. And sometimes I get images for people, and like a cat, for example, or a car, and that will have very specific meaning that they can understand straight away. And occasionally it's more symbolic. And one time, for example, I got the image of an envelope and I said, does that mean anything? And she said, not particularly. So I said, well, if you were to receive an envelope, what would you like to see in it? And she said, I would like to see a letter from my sister-in-law, just apologizing for what she's done to our family. And what that was symbolic of was a family issue that needed to be brought out into the open and dealt with in some way. So you may get your messages in ways other than you are used to, and you may need to interpret it. Now, you also may need to train your guides or whoever you're channeling to give you information in a way that is suitable for you. A lot of people say the information comes through too quickly. What do I do? Well, you simply ask them to slow down. It's a form of training your guides. Some people get woken up at 3 in the morning with information, so you may need to tell your guide, this is not the best way for humans to receive information. Can you wait until it's daytime? So if your guides are bringing through information in a way that isn't the easiest for you, then just let them know what is. One time I was channeling, it was for a reading, and her guide came through, the woman I was doing a reading for, her guide came through, and he was trying to give me some information in the form of spoken language, but he was trying to use sounds that the human voice box can't make. And I was really struggling, and my throat was really sore, and I had to just stop. And I came back and I said, can you this time give me information in a way that I can actually say? And he was very apologetic and he very humble about it. And he gave me information in human language. So yes, just remember, you may need to train your guides so that they bring through information in a way that's suitable for you. One of the things that they also do is they use your life experiences this lifetime or previous lifetimes to bring through a message. So you may think, oh, is that just a coincidence that I had that experience yesterday and now there's a message about it? Probably not. Probably you have been given that experience so that you can use that to explain whatever the wisdom is. So it may be something from an experience you've had today, yesterday, last year, 10 years ago, previous life, but it's often an easy way for them to get the information across because it's an experience that you've had and you can explain it quite easily. Often stories are a really good way to explain things. So if you've got an experience and can explain the story and then interpret the meaning of it, that's often a very easy way for spirit to get the information across. Okay. So what I am now going to do is I'm just going to share with you one of the things that I have channeled, which is a book, and it's this book. It's called Spiritual Guidance, Channeled Messages to Help You Understand and Navigate Life. And just in case you saw the previous video where I showed a book and you think it's the same book, I do actually have two books and they do look actually very similar. And the reason I want to explain this to you is not specifically about the book, but I will explain about it. But it's the way that it came to me. I didn't sit down and think, oh, I'm going to channel a book. What happened was I was invited by Spirit to start channeling information on different life issues. So I did that. I sat down with this little notebook. Yes, purple is a good spiritual color. And with different color pens, and over a period of weeks or months, I channeled all these pieces of wisdom on different life issues. And that took several weeks, several months maybe. And then it just stopped. And so I put my little notebook on the bookshelf and just left it because I didn't actually know what to do with it. And then after a few months, I thought, oh, I might read it. And oh my goodness, I was blown away by the wisdom that was in there. I had brought it through, but I hadn't really absorbed the wisdom that I was bringing through. And so I still left it because I didn't know what to do with it. And then a few months later, Spirit asked me, would I channel again? So they said, have a look at how many life issues that you had channeled. And I counted them up and it was 70. And they said, oh, let me just have a drink. What happens when Spirit with me wants to get information across, they work quite hard on my throat. And they said, have a look at what the number 70 means. So I did, and number 70 is quite a spiritual, high vibrational number. So they said, we want you to channel another 70. And this time they're going to take you into realms that you're not familiar with. And they're going to be a much high vibration wisdom on 70 other life issues. So I channeled all of those. And then there I was with 2 books with all this information and didn't really know what to do with it. And then eventually I got the message that it's a book. So I wrote it all up and I formatted it and I've made it into a book. And the reason I'm telling you this is just be open to what comes through. Yes, I mean, I have just with a group of friends, we have specifically sat down and we have jointly channeled a book, but just be open to what the channeling might bring to you and what it may be for. I had no idea I was channeling a book. I thought I was just channeling information on life issues. So be open. You don't know what's going to happen with the information that, or the wisdom that you brought through. But I will just explain this book to you because every time I read it, I'm just really blown away by the wisdom that's in there. And what was quite interesting is I would start channeling and I would get maybe halfway through a sentence and my human brain would think, I have absolutely no idea how this sentence is going to end. And then they would give me more information and I would think, wow, that is so deep. It is so incredible. And I know that I didn't come from my conscious mind because I didn't know that. So what it is very deep wisdom, I would say, on a whole range of life issues. The first 70 and then the second lot of 70 of high vibrational information. And I would recommend reading it simply because I feel just so much in a high vibration, and each time I read it, I get more from it. Anyway, it's on my website. I'll put the link to it and it's just on Amazon. So what we'll do now is we will do another practice session. And so if you remember from last time, it's really useful to prepare a sacred space and to get yourself into the right vibration. So if you do need to stop and go away and get something ready and get yourself ready and have a drink or whatever you need to make yourself comfortable, pause the video and get yourself ready and be in a space where you feel at peace. Maybe ask people not to interrupt you. Have whatever you need, so your pens or your paper or recording device, whatever it is you need. And just give yourself a few minutes of uninterrupted time where we can just do this channeling practice together. And remember, you are very welcome to set an intention. And again, if you're new, your intention may just be to go for several minutes in the piece and just start getting used to the energy that you need to be in to be able to channel. Okay. So please close your eyes and I will close mine and I will channel a brief meditation and give you a minute or two to bring through whatever you need to bring through. If you feel called to bring through a lot more than what we can do in a minute or two, then just pause the video at that point and take as long as you want, and then just come back and I'll close us down. Okay. So take a low, slow, nurturing breath. And just know that you are surrounded by a loving, nurturing, beautiful energy that will keep you safe and protected. And we ask that any information that comes through is only of a high vibration that is helpful to us, to those around us, and all that is. And just feel that calmness, knowing that for the next few minutes, the outside world has no call on you. You are here, safe and protected, ready to connect with the higher energies and bring through their message. And so visualize walking towards a garden gate. A lovely green garden gate that has gold energetic symbols on it. And as you gently push the gate open, the symbols give off an energy that you can walk through to start to raise your vibration. And you walk into a beautiful garden that has flower beds surrounding it, filled with flowers of every color in full bloom. And you simply stand on the grass, feeling the warmth from the sun and hearing the noises of summer, knowing that this is where you're meant to be now. And you start to notice a vortex of energy swirling around you in a really, really lovely way. A gentle swirling of energy around your body, keeping you safe and raising your vibration. And this swirling energy goes wider and wider, until it reaches the person or the guide or the energy that you are going to channel today. And it brings them in towards you in this energy vortex. And you feel so at peace with them. You feel so connected to them. And you feel this wonderful mind and heart and soul connection with them. And they come close to you. And your joint energies are so powerful and so in tune. You feel like you've known this person or being forever. And you have a deep soul connection. And together with this being, in this swirling vortex of energy, you walk back towards the gate. The green gates with the golden symbols. And as you both walk out through the gate, you pass through their energy field again. And you easily and gently bring yourself back into the human world, still with your eyes closed, knowing that the being or person that you're going to channel is right next to you. And so take a couple of minutes to be in connection with them, to be in this high energy, and ask if they've got a message for you. And I'll call you back in a minute or two. And so now, thank your guide. Thank the energies. And invite your guide to go back through the gate. Knowing that they will leave you in this higher vibrational energy. And thank yourself for having the courage to go on this journey. And so again, take a lovely, low, slow, nurturing breath. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Thank you for coming on that journey. I hope it was beneficial for you. At the end of a channeling session, it's really useful to ground yourself. So maybe go and have a drink or go for a walk or do something that just makes you feel back in the human world. As I mentioned the last time, it's really, really useful to make a note of whatever came through, because you may not get the full meaning of it for a while, could be days, weeks, months. And if you look back at the notes, you'll be potentially taken back into that energy, and maybe something more may come of it. And also remember that whatever you remember of what happened in those couple of minutes may not be the full picture. You might have been taken into the spirit world where time isn't the same as human time. A whole range of things might have happened in there, but you've only brought back a tiny bit of the knowledge. So a lot more may have happened than you actually realize. So if you have any questions about this, if you're not sure how you're doing, you want to ask me questions, then what I'll do below is I'll put a link to my website where you can contact me. On my website, there are meditations there, if you might find those useful as a way of getting into channeling. Under my newsletters, each newsletter has a channeled meditation, so there's meditations there as well. And I will put a link to this book if you'd like to know more about it. And what I will also do is put a link to a Facebook group that I jointly run, which is called Channeling Development and Spiritual Growth, where you're welcome to join us and link with like-minded people. Each week we put out a topic for you to have a practice channeling, and then once a month we'll have a free webinar. So feel free to join us. So thank you. The next video I'll be talking about moving past the doubting phase, where you think, am I really doing this? And what to do once you've got underway with your channeling. And I'll also show you a couple of very different types of things that I've brought through with channeling. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you have found it of benefit. And please leave us a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe to this channel, and we will see you in the next one.